You may have heard that the companions of the Prophet ﷺ were divided into two main categories. There were those who had migrated to Medina, and then there were those who were from Medina. Those that had migrated there were called the Muhajirin, and those that were from there were called the Ansar. Now, whenever we take a name of a companion, we are very easily able to identify if they were from the Muhajirin and the Ansar. However, there is one person amongst the companions who is included amongst the Muhajirin and is also included amongst the Ansar. And this occurs with just one person from the Sahaba, and her name is Shareek radiallahu anha. Shareek radiallahu anha was from Mecca, and when she accepted Islam, she started inviting people, inviting the women towards Islam. Now some say that she wasn't a resident of Mecca proper. Some say that she was in another city. Some say she was in another area. Whatever the case was, she was actively inviting women to Islam. And when she started doing this work, then people started accepting. People started listening to her message, and women started entering into Islam. The chiefs of her area found out that she is giving da'wah. People are listening and accepting Islam, so they warned her. They warned her once, then they warned her again, then they warned her, but she very discreetly continued to convey this message. Finally, they got fed up. And one day, they kidnapped her. And they tied her up and put her on top of a camel without a saddle and took her deep into the desert. And they marched with her through the desert. When it would be afternoon and the heat would be at its peak, they would make the camel stand outside in the blazing sun, and they themselves would put a tent up for themselves, take a nap, rest. They had lots of water, but they would not allow her even one drop of water. And in that intense heat, there was only so much that she could take. Eventually, on the third day, she felt like she was letting go. She felt like, that's it, it's time to leave this world. The thirst, the extreme thirst and heat and hunger had taken their toll. And as usual, her captors had left her tied up on this camel, and they're there sleeping in their tent. Just as she is starting to feel that everything is over now, it's time to leave this world, she felt something in front of her. And when she looked up, it's a bucket. And then someone takes this bucket and pours it into her mouth. And it's water. And so she drinks and drinks and drinks. And then the bucket goes away, and then it comes back. And she drinks more. And then again the bucket is raised. And like this it happens a few times. And she drinks until she can no longer drink anymore. And water is splashed on her face, it's splashed on her clothes. And her life comes back, her strength comes back. She's fresh, she's revitalized. After some time, these people wake up and they see that the color has returned to her face. She's completely fresh, and her clothes are wet also. They said, she must have freed herself. She must have escaped and taken from our water. So they went and checked their own water supply, and everything was sealed and shut exactly as they had left it. They could tell that it hadn't been opened. So they said that you tell us what happened. So she told them. She told them that this is what has been happening for all these days. I was starving. I felt like I was going to die. And then I saw this. And this is what was given to me. And this is the arrangement that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made for me. When they heard this, they said, if this is the case, then the faith that you have accepted and the faith that you are inviting towards is much better than our own faith. And there were 3 of those men. All of them ended up accepting Islam. And they came back, brought her back, and she continued living her life. When she migrated to Medina, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave her a great deal of wealth. And she became one of the wealthiest people in Medina. Now Medina was a place where the muhajireen that had migrated, they had left everything behind, they had nothing, they had to start from scratch. It was the Ansar that were known for feeding people, for being hospitable. They were the ones taking people into their homes. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made such arrangements for this Sahabiya that He opened up the doors of wealth, and she became like the Ansar. She became like the Ansar in offering hospitality, in feeding people, and there were always people at her house all the time. The sufra is out, people are coming and eating and going, and the Prophet ﷺ used to mention her in this way. So look at the resilience of this woman. Look at her strength, her loyalty, her dedication to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that she was not deterred. She was forced to an extent that most people would have given up even before it came to that. But she did not stop conveying the message, and she did not stop remaining steadfast in her deen. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also enable us to be strong and resilient in our deen, and to not be influenced by every little change in direction and every little change in trends, a little bit of pressure, a little bit of things in the media, a little bit of friends passing a comment, somebody giving you the odd look, and all of a sudden you want to change everything and melt into your environment. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from becoming like that. Wa sallallahu wa sallama wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in.